Good morning, North America. You've got 10 more seconds before your spoiler warning runs out for the Golden Guardians versus BDS Worlds Qualifying Series. Three, two, one. What was that? Oh, you spend so much time hyping up these series and just, we do that. You have no idea how many French memes I had ready. For context, I worked at a French subsidiary here in the US for a year and a half, so I was keyed in on a lot of the memes that revolve around France, and I had bangers ready in the morning already. I stayed up to watch game 1 and 2 and then went to bed afterwards, regardless of how the games turned out. That was going to be the plan the entire time, but oh my god. Let's just get into game 1. This is the most ego draft that we could ever possibly have. BDS clearly drafting late game scaling. The Renekton's going to be the thing that ushers them through the early game and gets them there later. As long as we don't fall behind to Renekton and mid jungle don't do anything to really screw us, we're fine. We just have to win mid game because then they scale into late. Gory had other plans. You can't draft Yone and then put up a performance like he just had. That is abysmal. I mean, the clearest example of this was the play where he gets caught out, he ults Maokai, and is able to actually get away under his tower just to walk up and die to Orianna with flash up, which he then used at the end of the play to go down. It was egregious. Amumu didn't really do much as a support pick, and Talia, because every other lane was losing, didn't really get to do much. This jungle that's supposed to be able to roam to winning lanes that you would think Kai'Sa and Amumu might be able to do, or the Yone might be able to do against Orianna, wasn't able to do anything, and because of that, it was basically ineffective. River was going to be the X factor for this series, assuming he got to play and unlock the map, and he just didn't. So I'm going to use game 1 to transition into the overreaction of the day, a segment I'm going to do every time based on one particular topic within the series or set of games that is going on. And my overreaction is that mentally we are just not built the same in North America as everybody else. Golden Guardians was dealing with burnout clearly by the end of this year. Players like Gory were not playing at the same level that they were at the beginning of the year and an MSI. And we heard conversations, and I talked to Spooks during MSI about burnout already being a problem for them, which is why I predicted them to do so bad in Summer Split of the LCS. Unfortunately, well, I guess unfortunately now, they still performed decently well, or at least nobody else stepped up around them, and EG collapsed, and we never really had anybody to kind of take their place. They kind of just meandered through and were good enough still as leftovers from spring that they were able to qualify into Worlds. But Gory in playoffs was downright horrendous. Clearly burnout. People said he was missing home, whatever. You had almost 2 months from the time that you lost that series until today. Now, people were saying about how it wasn't fair that BDS was going to go to Worlds so much, or go to Korea so much later than Golden Guardians. But the truth was, Golden Guardians didn't even show up to Korea until the last week or two. They gave their players a break, which you can argue when they have burnout might be the better choice and gives you the best chance at winning, but goes to speak on the problem of burnout in general, where you have teams like G2 and others in Europe who just play all year round. And sure, yes, they're going to probably deal with burnout as well, but they are dealing with it clearly so much better than we are. We have, how do you go 2 months of prep and then just don't have anything practice? And the BDS is going to do some weird stuff on level 1. You know that they're going to scale incredibly well. So you need to be very effective and proactive in your lanes or in your early game to be able to counteract that, or you just draft late game scaling, which we'll get into game 3. We just couldn't do a thing at all. Game 2, I was watching this one in bed, laying down, and was like, okay, we're actually getting leads. Licorice is doing something in lane versus Adam. MNS didn't die early, which was good, which allowed River to kind of unlock the map, and River was playing incredibly well. But then Adam went to his normal shenanigans of just messing with normal lane state. Clearly, it was an example of in the LCS, if Golden Guardians gets this lead, they're able to transition it to a win 99% of the time because teams do the exact same thing whenever they're behind and more or less just let them win for lack of a better term. But here, Adam, the second things started going a little bit haywire, is like, I'm going to mess with everything here, mess up the tempo. And River, who had a pretty significant lead at this point, just wasted like 2 or 3 minutes doing nothing. Or at least nothing to like continue growing that lead and continue gapping. But it's all because Adam like stepped out and was like, okay, we're going to change the pace of this all. And the problem with that is that BDS's draft once again scales incredibly well late game. On Golden Guardian side, you have the Callista, you have the Belveth, you have a Talia against a beefy front line that you're going to have to hit the entire time. But the problem is when you have a Garen on the other side, Garen's just going to ignore you all attacking him, flank, come around the backside and get on Callista and just kill her. And that's exactly what happened. Every fight, like once we hit a certain point in the game, it was just like Golden Guardians could not play at all, regardless of the lead that we had, regardless of anything else going on. They literally could not do a thing. The Ezreal Azir poke would just chunk all of us down, and then Garen would just run in and YOLO it behind our back line. It was just like, well, before we get into game 3, I'm going to do the community highlight of the day, where I'm going to scour Reddit and social media during the games or during the early parts of the morning and find a comment or tweet that I really like and highlight it here. And it actually came from Reddit this morning, because obviously with this series losing, a lot of North American fans are going to be down and depressed. Some will, write off the series, as we tend to do as North Americans. But I liked what they said about how we should never stop believing that we can win, even whenever we can't. I know this was like kind of partially a joke and like a joke thread, but I really like the comment because, look, even though we got our asses kicked, like I'm still going to come out here and cheer for all of our teams and have faith that they will win every time that they step on the stage, even after this. Does this hurt? Yes. But part of what makes sports fun and part of what makes these rivalries fun is us having the belief that we'll win. If we came into this believing, yeah, you know what, Europe's probably the better region, BDS is probably going to win this series 3-0, like what's the point? There'd be no hype to it. There'd be no storylines. There'd be no banter back and forth. And it's like, yeah, it might take us a while to finally like catch up to whatever level Europe's on, but we'll, first and foremost, we'll see how that pans out for everybody else. We have better teams in this tournament than what Golden Guardians has shown in the last 3 months, so I'm not too worried yet. But it's just like we really, but it's good that North Americans are still invested, because if we weren't, we wouldn't have any fandom to begin with. Now, will this have long-standing impacts on people's faith? I don't think so, at least not until Swiss stage comes, and if Cloud9, NRG, and Team Liquid all bomb out of this tournament, then yeah, it's gonna be, it ain't gonna help the downward spiral that we're already on with the LCS, that's for sure. And game 3, final game of the day, we finally gave up on whatever ego we had of trying to draft mid and early, because we just couldn't get it done, and drafted safe scaling with like Zaya, Leona to help with engage for Huhi, Azir, Ivern, Jax. Like, this is your classic scaling comp, and like once again we just couldn't do anything with it. Adam was able to get another lead on Garen, and Crownie and Labrov poked out bot lane, which, speaking of that, I got to touch on Huhi. Obviously he performed incredibly well at MSI and throughout the year, but he's another example of a player that just like, in a meta where you would think he would be able to do great things, and on engaged champs, he wasn't. His series today was pitiful. I mean, everybody's going to point towards the Nico game from now on as like a highlight to his career as support, where like, you think like you're trying to do these tricks on Nico where like you're disguising yourself as stuff just to get Azir ulted like right away, and every time in game 2 and even parts of game 1 and game 3 where it just, he's going in and the team's not there. That you either need to commit or not. I think he was going too far. I think he was trying to force too hard in situations where they didn't necessarily have control. But I like that philosophy. It's just like, either your team needs to play around it or it's going to look incredibly in from you. And it looked incredibly in from you. But yeah, game 3, we got steamrolled. There's nothing really to add context here. We just got gapped in every part of the map all over. And that ends Golden Guardians' shortest run at Worlds ever. North America's shortest run at Worlds ever. I'm still glad that they put out the jersey and did all the things that they would normally do. I know people are going to meme on them for that, but I think it's a smart organizational move to still treat this as if it is Worlds, even if you weren't officially part of it. I actually did take a little bit of problem with the fact that like the broadcast and everybody else is like, oh, this isn't part of Worlds. But actually, now that looking back on it, it probably feels better and leans into the meme a little bit more when you say this isn't part of Worlds, and like it makes it sting even more. Trust me, I know. And finally, a shout out to everybody that was on the broadcast today. Y'all were biased as hell, and I loved it. Like that, it captured the essence of what this series really should be. The problem was this reminded me of Rift Rivals 2018, which for those that weren't around back then, we did have a 3 versus 3 matchup between Europe and North America, and we got pummeled. Team Liquid only took a single game off of Europe, playing nothing, or I think with the Sonateric like cheese comp that they were playing at the time, or maybe it was 2019. But nevertheless, this felt exactly like that, where it's just like we couldn't do anything. Now, does that speak to Europe's caliber? Because back in that era, Europe was like actually Worlds contending level. I don't know. We'll see come G2 and come BDS, assuming they keep this form. We'll see. Maybe Europe will actually do something at Worlds. But for North American fans, I know this isn't going to inspire hope. Trust me. But you just got to hold out. Now we got to wait till Swiss. So you can kick back, relax, watch play in stage, watch the meta develop, take a chill pill for a little bit, and we'll be back. I will still continue doing this series each and every day for Worlds because I just enjoy talking about it. The videos might be a little bit shorter. And again, whenever I'm going to work, I'm working from home today. Whenever I'm working in the office, editing on these is going to be very minimal. So the quality of these will kind of change a little bit day to day. But I'm just going to do what I can to make sure I get videos out and make sure I get content to you all and talk to you all about this. So let me know down below in the comments, what is your best roast of North America right now? Let me have it. Lay into me, please. I need it. Like, I'm just masochist at the moment. Like, just give me all the pain and suffering. But other than that, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and I will see you tomorrow. Adios.